It's a very interesting industry. When I joined in, it was quite, you had to look up to people who were there, and you would walk into a room where you had the top anchors, top voices of India, and you were pretty much maybe a 23-year-old, 24-year-old guy roaming around trying to look at them with starry eyes in the beginning.
How would you define growth in today's media world? Because I'm sure it's more than revenue, right? Because we have to talk about reach and relevance, like you were saying, and also like I think standing out because like you very rightly pointed out, there's so much content available. How do you make yourself like unique?
Today in an org that I work with 13 different languages, we have international presence. We have channels which have 80% audiences coming from US market. Maybe we have a Spanish conversation today with translations and all and stuff. I would say that, it's really easy to create content in different languages, but figure out who is it for. So once you have that, once you have a reach sorted, then go after content is something that I would say. And that's the major transition that you have to.
You are definitely one of the best person in the industry who could make predictions. So if we talk about like the next 5 years, what would you say are like the top 3 trends in your opinion that could be there globally and also locally in the media world?
For information for conversation rather than information for knowledge. There was a point of time that we would read to just from a knowledge point of view or watch something. I think it's information for conversation which has also come up. In our parlance, in the old world, they would say content is king, distribution is God. So just remember the God.
Every headline that you see is powered by someone who's working behind the scenes, someone building the strategy, the growth, and the future of the media industry. And we rarely get to meet the minds behind those businesses. From shaping digital growth strategies at some of the India's leading media networks to leading large-scale revenue, content, and audience expansion journeys, today's guest represents the evolving face of media leadership. He has navigated television, digital transformation, partnerships, and business growth. And today, as Chief Growth Officer at Network 18, he stands at the intersection of content, business, and future of media careers. If you're someone who dreams of building a career in media industry and not just in front of the camera, but in growth, business strategy, leadership, then this conversation is a good starting point for you. Let's welcome Mr. Pranav Bakshi on our show today. So hi everyone, let's welcome Mr. Pranav Bakshi on our show today. Hello sir, welcome to Talk with Nesh.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much. It's great to have you on the show. So before we begin, I would really request you to give like a very small introduction about yourself to all our viewers today.
Firstly, thank you for having me here. It's great to be on the platform with you and with the kind of background we have. But I work as a chief growth officer professionally at Network 18. I look after the digital distribution, digital content distribution across. I also, beyond work, I generally, with my introductions, I extend them beyond professional. So I'm an avid biker. I like to travel quite a bit and I do a fair bit of off-roading. So that's what my quick introduction is.
Great, thank you, and welcome again. I often feel that, when we talk about careers in the media industry, the things that come to our mind is basically a front-facing, a camera-facing role, probably a career as a journalist or, talking about the headlines. But this is a great opportunity for us to have you because we're going to talk about the brains behind the business growth, strategy. And that's something that a lot of people, particularly who follow my channel for career stories, would be really interested in. So the first question that comes to my mind is that you have been in this industry for more than 2 decades. You have seen the early wave, the transition that has happened, which has moved television to digital. So I'm sure you would have seen a lot of like challenges and opportunities that happened in the industry. And particularly in the last decade, everything has changed. So I want to, so let's start from that. So if you could like talk to us about the transition or the changes that you have seen.
Yeah, fortunately, when you learn, I moved to this industry back in 2005. And I started out with print and then moved to television in early 2007. What I've been quite fortunate. I worked with a very sort of pioneering English news organization right in the beginning. The opportunities that they gave me allowed me to go in front of the camera to start with. I was very young and stone-faced right in front of the camera. I don't know if I'm still stone-faced, but I was quite stone-faced because I was told by my boss then that you at 6 a.m. you have to do this financial show as your test run, and I'd never been trained as a journalist or being an anchor. So that was, and you had this little accelerator kind of a thing where that you had to press for the teleprompter, which I was very bad at. So I could do conversations, but reading off the teleprompter is something I could never. But
Yeah.
just to start with that context, got a lot of exposure right in the beginning from producing content. I've worked on a documentary. I've been a producer of a documentary. I've done web series. So I've had a fair bit of chance before business to look at the lens very, very differently.
Yeah.
And that's been really, really fortunate because when we actually come from a very hardcore business background and a B school degree, you actually don't get to see a lot of this. In my scenario, I was fortunate to do a bit of all of the things and understand that entire aspect. So I would go and sit with the camera person, have a cup of tea in Chennai, where I was based for a little while, and understand from him how a camera works. So when you go into that deepness on media, and then media was also, I remember walking with an ID card of a company to an airport, and they would not ask for a government ID.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be saying this, but yeah, it was that kind of a thing. Then you would, as your own person, show that ID and say then government ID and go. Because that's the kind of respect at what one point media demanded or media asked for or media had rather, not asked for. But yeah, from a business point of view, media is a fairly large, impactful business.
Yeah.
Uh, but you have to realize that it's at the end of the day, it's between being slightly more about information rather than about ROI in its pure form. So yes, it's a very interesting industry. When I joined in, it was quite you had to look up to people who were there, and you would walk into a room where you had the top anchors, top voices of India, and you were pretty much maybe a 23-year-old, 24-year-old guy roaming around trying to look at them with starry eyes in the beginning. And then you
Yeah.
realize that, it's the part of the profession. And at the back of the entire thing, you have to realize the complications of the industry are fair bit. While, like you said, the front face today, to be a front face on the camera is the most easiest thing. Not sort of diluting anyone's this thing, but that time it required a hard bit of training. There were books that you had to read. There were 32-inch screens that you had to chase, starting with 21 to 32. You had to talk to a large audience. Today, you and I are having a conversation very, very frugally in our little setups that we have. And you're in a studio. I'm like sitting at home. This wasn't possible back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, OB-WANs and stuff like that. So you got to know a lot about the business, and it's really changed. It's really, technology has taken us completely by storm in the last maybe 10 years, and now last couple of years is just another steed. But I would still say, while you look at channels and while you look at old world legacy brands that most Gen Z would call or Gen Alpha would call, just look at the credibility of the organizations rather than the pure form of delivery that you're used to.
Great.
Hopefully we'll catch up. Hopefully as legacy organizations will catch up in the delivery. Yeah.
So you were talking about how things are going to like shape up in the next few years, and that is definitely a question that I have in my mind. But before we talk about that, let's continue on this conversation that we had about things that have changed. So speaking about the audience, the audience has also changed in the last 10 years. So speaking more locally, so how do you think has the audience changed in the last 10 years in India specifically?
I think, there was a point of time when you had a very, what you get is what you watch. Okay. I think now the choices are very, very intentional by people. I want to watch this and I will find it and watch it. I have an X movie that I want to watch. I'll download the platform. I want to watch a particular creator. I want to watch an anchor. I want to watch a brand. So it's become very, very specific to what I want to watch rather than what's being made available to me. So that's the fundamental change, and the fact the biggest change again from a viewer standpoint is that the availability is just outstandingly crazy. That's there.
Yeah.
You're always fighting that availability. I would just sort of come back to the point that look out in the future, and I'm not trying to pitch my part of the business, but I think somewhere we'll have to have, at least in my part of the world, which is news and infotainment, you'll have to start looking at it what you believe and what you don't. So just keep that in mind, and from that angle, just the its nimbleness will definitely have you much more content available to everyone. But yeah, it's more intentional now. And a lot of people are microdosing, micro dramas. There's like information for conversation, as I call it. It's my favorite thing. I think a lot of people have moved for information for conversation rather than information for knowledge. There
Yeah.
was a point of time that we would read to just from a knowledge point of view or watch something. I think it's information for conversation, which has also come up.
Interesting. So, information for conversations, very interesting point of view. Uh, so, speaking about growth, how would you define growth in today's media world? Because I'm sure it's more than revenue, right? Because we have to talk about reach and relevance, like you were saying, and also like I think standing out because like very rightly pointed out, there's so much content available. How do you make yourself like unique? So, I want to know from your perspective, how do you define growth in today's media world?
So two things I would, Neha, just sort of point out. One is you have to realize that reach is something that you have to play. Before you make your content today, figure out what your reach metrics are going to be. It's very easy for us to plug in content and turn around and say, let's make sure, I'm sure my content is so good that it'll reach out to the world. Say about maybe 6 years ago or 7 years ago, I was working with another org and we were making a lot of Bollywood content. One day in a flash of conversation, I was telling my bunch of producers and my team leads, I said, let's reform this content and let's start making this content with this kind of sleek and stylish and suave way. The next thing that happened for us was once we did all of the investments, the viewership tanked.
Oh,
Okay. So very interestingly, you have to realize that somewhere you're not making content for yourself and your peer group. As long as you take care of that, you have to very clearly define your reach and peer group that or beyond your peer group. See what happens is most of the feedback that we get is generally my content is good as per the people I hang with. That's not the TG that you need to. You need to get to the ground. You need to get to the ground and figure out exactly who you're producing content for. Today in an org that I work with 13 different languages, we have international presence. We have channels which have 80% audiences coming from US market. Maybe we have a Spanish conversation today with translations and all and stuff. I would say that it's really easy to create content in different languages, but figure out who is it for. So once you have that, once you have a reach sorted, then go after content is something that I would say, and that's the major transition that you have to. In our parlance, in the old world, they would say content is king, distribution is God. So just remember the God, honestly.
great. I mean, the point that you made that you need to kind of think about reaching out to people who are outside your peer group and think about making content, in that direction. That's a great point, and for me as well, it's a great advice. Um, and I want to now talk about the future trends. You are definitely one of the best person in the industry who could make predictions. So if we talk about like the next 5 years, what would you say are like the top three trends in your opinion that could be there globally and also locally in the media world?
I would definitely bet on two things. One is democratization of content, which has already happened to a large extent, but democratization with credibility is something that I would vouch for. You would see a lot of traditional brands backing creators in the future, and there'll be a spillover between the creator ecosystem and the traditional ecosystem, as I see it. You'll see a lot of print organizations. You'll see a lot of people who've had websites jumping into video. I see that happening already. They're testing waters. A lot of very, very traditional organizations are testing waters. But I see that more and more happening because, what has happened is, as humans, probably, it's very easy for us to look at video, right? Video
Yeah.
doesn't have a language, as I call it. Video, if video doesn't have a language, and then you can just, it's about visuals and audio, and in that scenario, it's much easier to consume than reading something. And as we move ahead into languages and translations, it will become easier. So I think that's the biggest trend. You'll see a merger of this whole, with creator ecosystem, which started as an independent, and filled the gap between legacy content of entertainment and news somewhere. There's right in the center. They landed up with the right audiences. I see a little bit of a merger in that audience. So like today, a lot of creators have made it to entertainment. A lot of creators will make it to news, but will be supported by credibility of high value brands. Thus, the spillover in fact might not be so distinctively, or the opinions might not be so distinctive as they are today. So that's
Great.
something that I would vouch for. Tomorrow, you could have You're talking about people's journeys. You could have a business brand backing you.
Yeah.
So, it's easier for us to turn around and say that's my kind of prediction in this space. And yes, like I said, again, there'll be a little bit of consolidation of information
Yeah.
and topics. Today, everybody is talking about what is working from an SEO point of view.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that the people who invest, research, qualify their content, do proper work on it, will work really well. And it's not just going to be purely about who has a better visual state. It's not about 8K cameras and drones and all. While it'll be great for travel content, it'll be great for food content. But when it comes to information, I would say information, a paradox of being first will
Mm-hmm.
still remain, and information being relevant and researched will also remain.
Wow, amazing. Now, I want to like talk a little bit about your journey. So you are in a leadership role that a lot of people dream to be in. So I think one part of it is obviously achieving that, but the second part is to be able to maintain that and to be able to be successful and do justice to the position that you hold. So I want you to share your biggest leadership lessons from your journey so far. Maybe talk three lessons.
Honestly, Neha, I would say that I've been fortunate in the sense, and by fortunate is not about growing to an organizational level. I've had experiences which made me get to this level. And every 3 4 years I've been challenged by something, and used to be a traditional print guy, started out trying to understand what the hell was happening because I moved from hospitality to print. And it wasn't about it. I was working on strategy there, and I wasn't on the sales front of it. Then moved on to do TV, and set up the first city-based channels, or state-based English channels in this country, which was
Wow.
based on CBS model in US. So that experiences, and then came to a large business channel, then moved on to another network with multiple things where branded content and focus content sort of started working there. Uh, to the fact that today, for the last maybe 10 years, I dwelled myself into digital video and was the earlier move on that, and try to figure out how the digital video ecosystem is going to change, and how linear versus TV will, or not versus linear plus connected TV plus social and plus distribution will play out. I think somewhere you just have to keep dwelling and diving into places where you see a bit of future or you see a bit of challenge. Just keep challenging yourself, and go back to learning. From my recent experience of going back to B school, it's been great to actually go back and learn from there. Uh, you don't realize the scope of things in a regular day.
Yeah.
So take some time out, go back to learning, go back to trying and figuring out. Today, everybody talks about AI, AI, AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
One very interesting statement that was made in one of the conferences I attended. I said AI can have everything, but it can't have your physical and mental experience. It can't replicate that.
Hmm.
So as long as you remember that, and live for that experience, just sort of figure that bit out. You can write your script, but it can't behave exactly like you. Maybe soon it can probably carry your emotions, but it can't travel. It can't get into your head with expressions.
Yeah.
So
That's a
just
little
just
complex.
remember, just from that angle.
Yeah.
Say machines can learn everything, but can't figure out your emotions. They can track you till the time you post it. So if you, just to give you an example, if you actually post all your podcast, it might be able to replicate it,
Mm.
but it doesn't know what in the next podcast how you're going to behave. It
Yeah.
can never predict that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not what exactly you will do in the next podcast that it can predict. So just remember that, and then
Yeah.
play with that. So I'm looking at it that way, is that maybe I need to be a step ahead of the experience part. I might not be able to compute like that. I may not be able to. I said, but just from experience point, just get into that game.
Yeah, yeah. There's another question that comes to my mind here is that when you are in such leadership positions, I'm sure that there's a lot of like pressure, right? External and internally, you have to manage a lot of complexities. How, is there like any routine or any mindset or anything that you do for like this stress management or to handle pressure and to keep yourself like grounded? Is there anything that you'd like to
See,
share?
for me, I probably did in the initial introduction that I'd made. Broadly, I made that statement. I said somewhere you need to have a work-life balance. So
Ah,
while you have a stress situation, and it's pretty much most of us who work in these high pressure jobs or ever changing environments. There's a lot of new age technology coming your way. There's a lot of content decisions that you're making through the day. I look at maybe 20, 30 dashboards through the day trying to figure out how which content, and this one is doing well and that one is doing well. This is the complexity of it. It's like playing the stock market in some way. But broadly, just keep a balance. I find time on the weekends to sort of get out. I do a fair bit of biking. I do a fair bit of off-roading, traveling, cooking, whatever. It could be anything. I think just find that balance.
Yeah.
Working for 20 hours a day or 14 hours a day. I know it's very preachy, but working for 14 hours a day, 16 hours a day is not work. Make yourself a little more efficient. Work practically for that 7 8 hours. I don't want to quote the people who kept suggesting for working for maybe 80 hours a week. Not my cup of tea.
Same
But
here.
yeah, work for about 8 to 10 hours a day, but make it worth everyone's time around you, so that when you go back home or when you this thing, you have some peaceful time. So just make that happen and make an early start. Just because you are 25 and you think that you have 10 years of slogging it out, be a smart slogger, not a slogger. That's all I would
Totally
suggest.
agree.
Yeah, yeah,
Smart work is very important.
yeah.
So I completely agree with that, and
I
that's
wasn't
also.
one, by the way. I can
Oh,
tell you,
really?
Neha, I wasn't one. Yeah, I've realized it late. I've
Yeah,
realized it maybe
actually,
about
this
seven, eight
is
years, 10
my
years ago.
next question, sir. So I want to know,
Yeah.
like, this is like from my perspective also. Whenever I think about like my career, I have over a decade of experience, and I often reflect. And there are certain things that I think that I wish I had known when I had just started my journey. So I want you to talk to us about. Are there like any two, three things that you wish your younger self would have known when you just started your career journey?
I just think that broadly learning. I think that's the biggest mistake that we do, and we get very confined to an industry. I think the high quality discussions and the kind of people that you interact with. I think two success points that I would recommend to everybody. One is learn about what's happening beyond your industry, what's happening in the larger space, read about it, interact with people, and build a strong network. That's these are two things that I would turn around and say ultimately what's going to work for you is, like I said, experience, network, and a fair bit of learning that you're able to bring it in. In a room filled with people who have maybe in that space have a much higher experience, and you are coming in with a certain kind of, you're pretty much grown up to it, right? From that angle, just take these three things with you, because ultimately you have to realize everything turns around and becomes business performance. So when it becomes business performance, what happens to you is your decision making is traveled with that. What have you got? You've got learning, you've got knowledge about other industries and what's happening there. And third is you have a network you can check back with. So these three things, just keep that in play.
Absolutely.
So I do bounce off maybe not sensitive information or anything like that, but I do bounce off an idea with different peer groups.
Yeah.
So early in life, I would do a content testing with somebody in my building, right? I would
Okay.
make content and go to the garden, my guard in the building, and show him the content, and that
Oh,
becomes a reference point. He's also my network. Don't understand network as the LinkedIn network.
uh,
Understand the network of people that you need to interact with. So stories in my domain, the stories travel from can come from anywhere. So just remember that. Make sure that you have all levels of experience.
yeah.
It's just not about the experience that you carry on your resume.
Yeah, that's incredible advice. And speaking of advice, I also want you to talk to us a little bit about people who are like just starting maybe their creator journey, or they want to make a career in the media world. If you have like any specific targeted advice for those people.
It's quite difficult to comment on the creator journey and in a structured creator journey. I think a lot of our predictions of the creator journey were, I won't say wrong, but yeah, we underestimated to a certain extent. But broadly, yeah, I would definitely say, if you're going out there, just have a mix of passion and what you want to do broadly coincide, and don't give up. The fact that I've seen a lot of people who started their journeys and they looked at numbers so intently that you keep looking at numbers, and you're like, this guy's got so much. He's got 20 million. I've got 2 million. I've got 200K. This one has 20K. This video did not do well, and my just consolidate your position from the point of view that you will have to invest. Think of it like a content piece, or something that you're creating over a period of time,
Yeah.
not just that day-to-day bite. It's not, you pardon me saying, and I'm not, no disrespect to anyone. As a content creator, you're not a daily wager.
Mm.
You have to be in it for the long game. Just be there for the long game. Find your niche, or your mass. While people, like I said, figure out your reach. So find your niche, or you find your mass, and then go after it. It's not, the numbers will come. Numbers will come. If you believe you're good, numbers will come. And originality. Please have something original from your side.
Yeah.
The moment you start putting out which everybody else is, you'll lose traction there. And use the tools. Now there are lots and lots of tools. I think
AI
I
tools,
think
right?
translations are the best thing that can happen to
Yeah.
creators today. uh, yeah, you could have sets, you could have the way you want to shoot, the quality of video, audio is just out there. So use that to your advantage. But again, it's about you, not about what you show. Sometimes just remember that if you want to face the camera, make it about you, and make it uniquely about you.
Wow. I think this is like the best piece of advice. Not that I've, asked a lot of people for advice, but this is something that I personally would take. One last question before we wrap up is, how would you define success for yourself? Um, yeah, and do you think you're successful now?
I don't call myself successful yet, just yet, just yet. Um, for me, again, like the definition of success is a mix. It's not about the designation. It's not about the role. For me, it's about what's changing, and am I impacting in certain way. Today, there is a lot of change coming our way, where consumption of viewers has moved to CTV, social. Uh, we are in absolute change management mode. As a legacy organization, people, I just believe that if you're able to catch that transition, make sure that you have an impact on the larger industry, and watch the trends up and early. I think that's success on the professional front. On the personal front, I would still call it have that balance. And as I achieve it today, I rate myself on professional maybe 8 on 10, on personal 6 on 10. I would like to get to that level where I don't think I'll ever be satisfied to be a 10 on 10, not in my lifetime. But yeah, a good 8 and 8 would be a good place to sort of be. So yeah, finding that trend, ensuring that this industry transitions to that is my success, and having that impact for a larger media world. Because when you spend 2 decades in something, you really want to have been a part of the transition. So I was thankfully a part of transition from print to websites to video. I'm hoping I'm a part of the transition from video to creators to CTV to social distribution to what will become of this in the next. And I pace it at about 2 to 3 years. You'll see a very different conversation if you
Yeah.
ever have one again. So you'll see a very different
Absolutely.
conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. It's been wonderful talking to you, learning from your journey and from all the advice that you have shared. And I'm sure all the viewers who watched us till the end would have benefited from this. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Neha. It's very kind of you to do this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for watching us till the end. I really hope that you found value in this conversation. Please do like, subscribe, share, and comment to let us know what you really liked about today's conversation. I always believe that we do not have to look far for inspiration because there are so many incredibly inspiring stories all around us. Because as they say, that no one else sees the world the way you do, so no one else can tell the stories that you have.